All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to episode 34 of the More Smarter Show with your hosts, Jake and Dylan. Jake, what do we have on the agenda today?
Today we have Andrew Stadelberger. Andrew is the founder, CEO, creator of PlayerCoach. Andrew, can you tell us what PlayerCoach is as if we were in like third grade?
Yeah, I'm happy to. PlayerCoach is an advertising agency down here at the Jersey Shore. So what an advertising agency traditionally does, and we are more of a traditional model advertising agency, is we work as your agent to creative talent. So that's some of the best thought leaders in the spaces. That's a lot of the best targeted ad specialists in the space. We've got editors and designers and developers and a whole lot of great operators that we can use for your projects. And so we act as that talent agent. So for some people who might have seen Entourage back in the day and are familiar with like Ari, we think of ourselves as very much just like a talent agency where somebody from a film studio might reach out saying, hey, I want to use Vinny Chase for this project. In a lot of different ways, we're getting reached out to saying, hey, we want to use your creative talent. Your editorial expertise. Sorry, guys, I'm not really using these headphones. And we'll shop them out. And so we will take care of any kind of creative project. And a lot of creative projects, we generally do mean television commercials or commercials that are on air, a lot of social media content. We'll take care of it soup to nuts, which is strategy, figuring out. We'd like to say here at PlayerCoach, we're a very athletics kind of agency. We like to say we hit it where they ain't. We're always looking to find places where the competitors are not, so we can jump to those places.
Nice.
And then from strategy and creative, all to where do we put this and how do we make sure we get in front of the right people, the most amount of people, and people who are going to ultimately convert to subscribe or purchase something that you're putting out there. So hopefully, in a nutshell, that's pretty good.
So if you're Ari, do you have a Lloyd?
I do have Lloyd, funny enough. Yeah, no, our Lloyd is Natalie. Natalie is here, not today at the agency, but she is our account manager. So she is a client liaison along with myself for a lot of our clients. But as fun as she could be, as hilarious as she could be, we have a great time here. So there's a little bit of that dynamic for sure.
Yeah, I hope you don't hate Natalie as much as Ari hates Lloyd.
No. And you know what? I think at the end of the day, it was a lot of love there between them too. It's just, they showed it differently, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So you started this in 2020, so it's relatively new. So what were you doing prior to this?
Yeah, I had, I always tell my career story kind of just beat by beat. I graduated from Villanova University in 2008. I had an internship at CNN over the summer prior to my graduation. So I went straight into global news for the first couple of months right out of school. And I realized quickly, as a lot of graduates do, this world might not be for me. So I jumped into advertising and it was basically off to the races from there. So effectively, my journey is such that I jumped onto a new business team at a big ad agency. The ad agency was named Havas. They were doing the Dos Equis, most interesting man in the world ads at the time. So I learned a lot about how great creative is made, how to pitch and win great projects. So we won the what's called the Agency of Record business for Heineken. So we were doing their global advertising. So I got an incredible amount of experience, absolutely zero sleep for the first couple of years of my career. And then I jumped into animation. So animation basically serving the commercial world. So you've probably seen a lot of animated commercials and characters and television spots. I might have touched some of those. Moving into the late 2010s, I jumped into what's called sync licensing. Effectively, it's much like an ad agency or an agency for bands and artists. So you're watching Shameless on Showtime or I think Superstore on NBC, a lot of these shows. And you hear a band that like clearly has been together for a while, but they're not necessarily famous. You might not hear of them again. We own those catalogs or we represent those catalogs and make sure that music gets synced onto television shows, TV shows, things like that. And music makes a lot of the difference in creative. Your auditory experience is 50% of all of your experience. So that's a really great and interesting time to understand how to really make great creative pop and see all aspects of the business. But by 2020, I was at the point where I wanted to do my own thing. And I realized to move my geography too. So I'd actually been in the New York City area feeling like I kind of got burned out on the whole urban scene. It's just a nonstop kind of grind. So I moved back down to the Jersey Shore where I'm from and realized that there is actually a geographical opportunity here where I'm not really sure that agencies like mine exist. If they do, I'm not that well aware of them. And they're probably few and far between here. So I started Player Coach saying, hey, there's a way that we can service these who might have some interest in marketing or doing marketing potentially in a way that might be less efficient and effective. And this itself had been a grind for a couple of years until very recently, where we've got some clients who are renewing with us, very happy with what we're doing. Just not only just like engagement and online chatter and things like that, but actual sales and conversions and things. So ultimately, we're trying to get to the point where if you put like $1 into our machine, we give you two back through value. So that's where we're at the moment. That's how we built this thing.
I love this because Dylan and I are real estate guys, and
Yeah.
that's where we started, and that's how this whole show started, like how to work more smarter within real estate and different angles of the business. And advertising agency is another language to me. As real estate professionals, we're our own marketers and advertisement. It's like there's obviously an angle of there that we are aware of, but you're speaking some Chinese to me, which I love.
Yeah. It really is funny how we can all live in the same world and have just completely different vernaculars and ideas behind how we approach different things. My girlfriend's in real estate too. She comes from, I have no idea what she's talking about. It is very much that type of like divided by a
Yeah.
common language type of situation. But you know, it is really interesting. I myself, having come from the mass communications world and journalism to start, didn't realize that when you're getting into the creative world, it's not necessarily people who have taste and are just kind of a little bit off and they want to work on something a little bit more fun. What we're really talking about is there are people who spend a lifetime studying light, like literal light study, how light affects certain things. There's a whole reason why a certain photography composition will work with different degrees of separation and a different one that doesn't work at all. It's because the human eye wants to perceive something or does affect a lot of the things that we understand. There's a lot of cultural background going on. And once you jump into it, it's really interesting that I found myself that this is all a lot of a science, like a lot of behavioral science plus creativity. So, yeah, it is. I do get that reaction every now and then, but at the end of the day, my job is not to speak over people's heads. It's to be able to have our clients understand what we're talking about and have them feel like they're happy that we're on the team. So, hopefully, I don't take it too far with the Chinese.
Well, that's the important part, though, is you dumb it down. It's the same exact first question that we had is explain your business like we're in third grade. You explain how your customers can make $2 for every $1 they spend with you. And if you explain that properly, then you're going to get their business.
Are your customers usually paying you $1? Obviously, I'm joking, but like, how do you make money? Is it subscription model?
Yeah. So the traditional advertising agency model generally relies on retainer clients. And this is for a number of reasons. One, you want to be able to predict how far in the future you're going to be able to keep certain teams on, and or especially because clients do like a certain team that they prefer to work with over time, you want to make sure that you've got those people already scheduled for. But I think that another reason that you have the retainer business is because a lot of these marketing plans are kind of a long tail marketing plan. There's a lot of advertising that goes into it, thinking about what's going to be happening in 6 months and 9 months. And not only that, a lot of marketing plans don't even kick into gear in terms of the effectiveness or any of the results that you're going to see until at least like 3 to 6
Yeah,
months
that's
into the
what I was
future.
gonna say. You need to keep them in there because it's a it's a long game for sure.
It's absolutely a long game, but it's also a human game too. The big learning for me in 2008 and 2009, which is when I when I graduated college and I moved into the ad world. If you remember, 2008 is when a lot of stuff crashed. So I get into this ad agency that's at the top of the world, and they would, admit themselves about 2 years later, they lost a lot of their major clients. Let's just say Jaguar, Exxon, just massive, massive clients. And all of a sudden, this massive agency has cut itself in half. I see how quickly that can happen in this industry above all others. So we look at a lot of different ways to protect ourselves. One is to make sure that we're not entering agreements where we're promising results in a month or two that'll just kill your entire reputation in your agency. But we're also trying to make sure that we are, as we say, this company like in your corner. So not only are we walking, but we also want to make it feel like we're kind of in-house. That is something where the traditional advertising agency model may or may not necessarily a lot for that. If you watched Mad Men, I don't feel like a lot of the clients thought Don Draper felt like they were part of the team. We do take it a step further here because we do think relationships do matter in this world, especially where it can be a little bit subjective and sometimes attribution, which attribution just meaning like, hey, did this ad turn into sales over here, can be a little bit sketchy depending on what programs you're using and how you're looking at everything. We'll put together, if you guys are familiar with Slack.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah. So for anybody who's listening who might not know Slack, it basically kind of like a chat room plus message boards, but it's all contained within a team that you invite, and you can build these different rooms based off of different projects. We are continuing to drop things into continuing education for our clients. We have a release valve for it's been inappropriate for posting for their brand, but we want them to still get a laugh or start seeing their own creative ideas. We try to collaborate as much as we can with our internal team. So yeah, it is a big science for us, and it's a lot about a personal relationship, behavioral thing to make sure that our clients are sticking with us.
Keep making sure that they're informed is where the Slack would come into play. And I guess what I'm wondering is metrics wise, do you break down their current advertising and say, hey, there's no way that we can actually predict where this will be in 6 months, but this is what we've done in the past and this is where we would like to go? Is that kind of how the conversation goes?
It's exactly how it goes, for sure. So we know down to the dollar what ads we've put money behind, what audiences we've targeted and where and how, who's clicked on it, what parts of the website they've clicked on. We can basically trace the entire customer journey. One of the fractional leaders of our agency, so we actually have a fractional model for part of our team from the ad industry, global ad industry, and some of the partners in my agency also do, but it'd be basically impossible for me to hire them full time, have them support, like basically support their salary and things like that. So we have fractional team leads. One of them is over at Google. She is very much into targeted advertising analytics. She's running some global accounts at that level. And she also helps assist some of the accounts in that world on that level too. So whenever we need to be able to hire her on, we're able to have the client cover the cost. And then she basically gives the same service to one of our clients as we would the global client. Our tracking is, with having her basically there with our eared industries is as good as anybody else's. And then we pride ourselves on that.
So it feels like there's a really low barrier to entry in the advertisement world, right? Because you don't need to go to college. You don't need to have some large investment, take a course. You can just wake up and create a business, right?
Right.
So with that comes harder to stand out, right? The easier it is to get in, the harder it is to be good at it. Now you're in year, 6 of the business?
6.
Yeah. So I can imagine, I'm going to take a guess, maybe years 3 to 5 were the most difficult because 1 and 2, you're kind of like really into your clients and can give them a lot of face time. But then when you grow past that, it becomes a scaling problem. Have you dealt with something similar?
We are definitely dealing with scaling often, and we are still trying to find the best way to deal with it. I think that once we've brought on a couple of full-time people, and that's just a matter of investing at a certain point in time. If your income isn't necessarily, revenue isn't necessarily covering a full-time employee, now you've got a decision to make. We made a bet on someone that we're really happy with. So we are big into systems here. We have a very kind of stringent culture. Like I said, we come from the traditional ad agency world where nothing goes on TV without being triple checked. It goes through legal. There's almost a million different points of failure. We try to build the same type of system here. We're really serious about it. But no, I would say that scaling has been difficult, but the main focus for us has always been, and this for me is like an Amazon thing, because I remember when they first started, they were just talking left and right, obsessed with their clients. And we're trying to be the same. So it's incredibly difficult. I don't think that we've let our service lag, but there are weeks where we are pretty tirelessly working and actually very tired while working as well. So yeah, it can be super difficult. One of the things that you mentioned about the barrier of entry is entirely true. And there's a bit of a misnomer there out there that a lot of ad agencies and creative agencies are going to pop pretty competitive with each other. I think that is mostly accurate in that the barrier of entry is pretty low. If you can prompt at this point, if you've got some semblance of taste, if you can watch some YouTube videos, you can probably actually do a decent enough job of marketing for your own business. But we were fortunate enough that we have a background, a lot of us, with some awards in the ad industry world. We've got a combined 50, 75 years, depending on how you're looking at it, in a global game. So we were actually able to build the agency with having a lot of social proof behind us, which we're very fortunate to be able. That's why I said we have a geographical opportunity here, because when I'm in New York, let me be very clear. I do not think that Coca-Cola is going to be calling me within the next year or two and being like, hey, will you run our campaigns? So if we were in New York City and then going up against a lot of our friends for these pitches, I don't think they'd let us in the door. However, geographically down here, we're down at the Jersey Shore, about 5 minutes from where Netflix is about to build. We feel like there's a great opportunity here, really
That's big.
incredible. Plus, we've got the beach right here. I do think that we're in the right place at the right time. But there's a bunch of great businesses who are making lots of money, lots of revenue, who just haven't been spoken to or reached out to. So
Who is your ideal customer right now?
that's a great question. So our ideal customer, we're rebranding to actually make it very clear that we are a serious agency for serious businesses. We have a great relationship with our AOR clients right now, and that is very much kind of a symbiotic relationship with a lot of communication, but a lot of learning and understanding. So the client set we would say are ideal, or it's mid to large size businesses within New Jersey, but also those who want to understand our process and kind of come along for the ride. Maybe you are learning some of the AI with us. Maybe you are not so familiar with targeted advertising, but within 3 years, you can speak the language, because a lot of what we want to do is educate your team as well. High tide is a raising all ships situation, but I think that educating leads to a lot of mitigating of miscommunications also. So I'd say our ideal client would be the large to mid-sized business locally who are looking for some results.
What size team do you have right now?
It is a flex team. So we've got 2 full-time, and then we've got 3 on the fractional side. So we've got 3 people who will come on for consulting roles who have this global experience, who are currently at Google, LinkedIn. And the third one, if anybody's aware or familiar with Hot Ones, the Hot Wing show,
Yeah.
former head
No
of
way.
production on that show as well, David Weinstein. Basically, those 3 people are the fractional leaders of our company, and they'll work with our teams or clients as they are being brought on. Myself and Natalie are full time, working with our clients, and then we've got 2 video editors, 2 development teams, and 2 design teams, and 1 animation team that will work with at any point in time, depending on what the creative is. And they're with us every single day. So we're constantly, luckily, we're at the point now where there's a lot of work coming through, but we are constantly looking for things for all these teams to do also, because there's a lot to be done.
How does that work for the fractional staff? How do you pay them?
Well, we actually pay them pretty well. With the fractional staff, the idea is this: it's a mutually symbiotic relationship from our perspective. And like, if you're cool with me talking, inside baseball about the whole thing, from my perspective, it is one of those things where, as you said, it's a low barrier to entry. I'm not unaware of that. So the way to combat that for me is to put ourselves in a position to hit it where they aim, to be in a place where nobody else is. My relationships and my network happen to be pretty strong, and the people that I was with, a lot of them have done some great things out there. So we are basically saying it is good for us to be rubbing elbows with these guys. In fact, to be a fractional lead at our team, we have to do a bunch of content with you so people understand who you are and things like that. They are just a part of the team who, like equity owners. But when it's time, when they actually have a couple of hours, let's say, David will know that in 3 months he's going to have a couple of days off, and he wants to maybe fill one of those days with a bunch of consulting meetings or a creative project. We'll be able to schedule that out for him, knowing that some of our clients are probably interested, and our clients pay us, we'll pay them directly. So it really isn't something where we've got these guys on a retainer so much as they're being freelanced out. But for them, it makes sense because it's like, hey, look, if I'm semi-retired, or I would like a couple of extra hours on the side or something to that effect, or somebody just wants to be working with small businesses because she's used to working with big, it makes sense for them too. And the good thing is they can just like turn it on.
Yeah, that's sweet. And so when these people you use these as kind of leverage, obviously, for yourself. There was a point where you were doing that work yourself, what they're doing with these.
Yeah. And I think that the most important thing to me is a client relationship, and that's always built on trust. And as best you can, you've got to be completely honest without telling on yourself. And I always told my clients coming from the beginning, because a lot of these clients have started with me when it was just, this started off as more of a creative consultancy, which means that I didn't have the editors and the videographers and everything like that to start off with. I was just giving my experience, my point of view. I had a camera that I would film with and do a little bit of like ad work on my own, because I know I could get you from, if on a scale of 1 to 10, your business is at like a 2 for marketing, I could get you from a 2 to a 4 by myself. And that was at the time worth it to a lot of my clients who are actually still with me today. Now I've gotten those guys from a 4 to a 6 to a 7 to an 8 at this point, or a 9. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where as long as you can just continue to show results, it makes sense.
I'm really into this fractional labor consulting type of model. I'm really into this because basically you can grow with no limits. If you've got a million of these, right? If you've got a million people that are willing to work at the drop of a hat, essentially, and they're strong people that you trust, there's no limit to what you can take on.
I think the limits are your reputation and trust. So it's as much as you could manage. I think the fractional team leaders on my side are people I've known for at least a minimum of 12 to 15 years, every single one of them. I would have no problem scaling this out large. I think at some point it starts looking like a Fiverr or something to that effect. But for people that I trust, I know their expertise, I know their level, and there is also something about a cachet. Like I make sure that I can say, uh, within like a cocktail chat or a cocktail conversation at a cocktail party with somebody, that every single person that I've got on my fractional team, there's something where I can say, she's crushing it at Google. She is leading some of the global Fortune 500s. This guy had hot ones. This person's over at LinkedIn, so on and so forth. So you can quickly get an understanding of the level of talent that we're working with too. So yeah, this fractional model has been super useful because on one side, it's the steering committee of my agency and a great brain trust. It behooves everybody as equity owners to make sure that a high tide's raising all ships. And when I call and say, hey, I've got a question on this particular client or that, to pick up the phone, you're all good. And yeah, on the other side of things, they're able to work whenever they want to, and they don't need to reach out to anybody because we're the ones basically acting as their agent.
Now, it's easier for the customer experience when everything is in-house because you have a little bit more say over what your employees or the people that are actually servicing your clients would do. In this case, when they're more like subcontractors, do you ever feel that they, are putting a disservice to your clients because maybe they have like multiple different things going on at a time and it takes a little bit longer?
That's a really good question. I would say we make sure that we guard everything through taste and reputation. To the first part, we do like to be able to touch everything that's going on marketing wise, because a lot of what we're being hired for is our taste. So we're able to manage certain teams, even if there's projects that are maybe outside of us. Our clients will use us as a filter for that type of taste, for sure. In terms of the fractional model potentially having its liabilities, for sure. I did find that with a lot of people that we've tried this with. The team that I have as a fractional team is not the entire team that I started with. We found out along the way that, if you can believe it, someone was so selfish to have a baby. Like, can you believe it? In the middle of a baby,
Asshole.
right? And that baby does not seem. No, anyway. So we actually had someone who had to drop off because she didn't necessarily have the time. That's okay. You got to make sure it's a mutually beneficial thing. It's not necessarily that I'm just like Pokemon trying to collect a bunch of my old colleagues.
Right.
And, so I can just get some great names on a website. It's got to work both ways. And I did find that there are a lot of ways where, even if everybody's got the best of intentions, if you don't feel like your client is getting the service that you would expect, it and you feel it. If you're in tune with your clients, you see it before they even see it. And that's something that you got to protect yourself, because with this fractional thing, I think it cuts both ways. It's a reputational thing. So when you've got these great fractional leaders who connect with your clients, you usually get a phone call from a client where that says, very, very happy with it, or did you mean for it to miss the mark? You know what I mean? And that's only happened once or twice, but you got to have those conversations and make sure that you're protecting the agency. Even if people have great names and reputations behind them, yours that you got to protect.
Though, if it goes bad, that relationship, what does that conversation even look like with like one of those fractional employees?
With the employees. So that's got to be kind of an honest, straight up conversation where you keep the respect, but you always have to say, look, I I see what's going on here effectively. And if I were the client, I would not be feeling great about this. A lot of times I'll actually kind of phrase it like that to protect the client if there was some sort of a feedback, because you don't want, if you're going to put that person in front of a client again, because you should be able to trust them enough that it's not just a one and done type of situation. They know what they're doing, but a lot of the times I'll just say, hey, look, from my perspective, this is not something where I felt like we hit the mark. Like, that will be part one. Part two is I'll always jump in front of the situation, try to find the second solution, like the second beats solution, and have it all ready. So for instance, if we had no, I'm not saying this ever happened, do not quote me on this, but like if we ever had this situation happen a couple of months ago, where we got a phone call from a client and said, hey, look, this didn't necessarily hit the mark. I was already ready for the questions I knew they wanted answered that they didn't get answered. I went offline and got them answered already and said, hey, I'm with you. I actually understand. And you got to eat the bullet. That's the thing with a lot of the clients, which I've started with and have continued this one kind of thought line, which is above all else, if you have messed up, you've got to own it. Clients will smell when you're trying to sidestep an issue. If it's like, oh yeah, I was thinking about doing something like that, or whatever it is. If you have seen an issue pop up, you just got to own it. Make sure that they know that you're clearly seeing the playing field, and then you can kind of keep that trust. I think that means more than continuing to just sidestep weird issues,
What's
Yeah.
your overhead like?
Overhead. So we are fortunate in that this agency, we like to say, well, the original proposition of the agency was that it was a value agency, and that didn't really serve us because we were finding that we were getting reached out to by a lot of value clients, people who were looking for favors and things like that. So we're now properly staffed, and we've got the teams that we like. We have now moved into a big old studio. I wish I could actually turn my camera around, but the agency has now become an agency plus a content studio as of like, I'm not kidding you, 4 days ago. So
That's awesome. Let's go.
Yeah. Oh, we're very excited about it. We'll make sure that we get you guys down here to our studio and you guys can do a podcast.
Yeah.
My treat. I'd love to do that. This is on camera, so this is on video. So now it's legally binding. We started the studio. That is, I don't know if you're looking for numbers, and I'm probably not going to throw out numbers. I can email you guys later to give you a sense of what it looks like. But we've got this space. Generally speaking, I was running this thing out of a shoebox because we do live in a world now, as you know, like with the Zoom and all of these other, like I was mentioning Slack before, a bunch of these different platforms. You can communicate with people really quickly. Positions was, if you are familiar with the classic ad agency model, if you've seen Mad Men, or if you're familiar with anything that went on in the ad industry before like the year 2000 or the 1990s, it was a madhouse, and it was a lot of, let's just say it was quite a bit of overhead, a lot of parties, a lot of Madison Avenue real estate that you don't necessarily need. And at the end of the day, when you distill this down, you're talking about a great idea that gets executed. Sometimes it gets executed for not a lot of money, hitting the right people, and then that's really all it is. Do you need the parties every day? Do you need the Madison Avenue real estate? Do you need 3 of the same agency in Manhattan at the same time? You do not. So we were saying, look, we're doing this a little bit smarter. We're keeping our costs and our overhead low in order to make sure that your costs are low. And by the way, the third parenthetical that we don't say out loud is, if your costs are low working with us, then we're going to have an easier time working together because your expectations are going to be slightly lower, right?
Exactly.
So we're able to step over those. And we knew long term that if we can continue to just keep our clients happy by staying in their corner and managing expectation.
Am I crazy that when I'm analyzing people to hire for any job that I'm looking to hire, I think about their overhead? Because I think if they have a ton of overhead, I'm getting slammed with that bill.
That's right. To me, that's exactly right. The overhead has to make sense. So if we're living in a world where this ad agency now has this larger footprint, and by the way, so I used to have, I think, 1,100 square feet, which I used to call the shoebox. It was myself and one other person in there, and like 2 desks, could barely get around. Now we've got more rooms. So to me, it's a situation where it's like, is there unnecessary overhead or is there more overhead? Jake, I think you're 100% right to analyze every single thing that a potential partner does. Like for me, it's, are you misspelling things in an email? It's just the whole of it, everything of it all. I had a billboard company I used to potentially work with, and the owner would pop on 15 minutes into the meeting every single time, acting like he was going from one place to another, just wanted to say hi. All right, anyway, this guy's great. You're going to love him. I'll see you later. And like these types of things all kind of speak to you. Superfluous overhead, I think, is one of those things also. But for the space that we're in, I'm starting to think about things in terms of value also. So if we are your ad agency, now you've got this new co-working space you can drop into at any point in time. That's a win. If this is a studio that also seconds as your studio, so now working with us means you can do your own podcast once a month, and we're just going to like kind of let you do it as long as you do some work with us. That works too. So we're trying to be really smart about overhead. But
More
I'm
smarter
saying
show, baby. That's all I hear. More smarter, more smarter, more smarter. Everything you're saying.
we're trying to
Totally.
be more smart is what it is. You guys inspired us to be more smarter, and here we are. Less dumb.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, what are you guys doing in terms of your overhead, and what does your business look like? You're in real estate.
Yeah. Well, I'll start by saying on that topic, I'll be watching March Madness, and I'll see like Remax and Coldwell Banker have ads in the middle of the court during the Final Four, and I'm like, who the hell is paying for that ad? So for me personally, I would never want to be a realtor there because obviously it's going to come out of your office dues or your commission splits. Like it's obviously going to trickle down to the lowest person, which is you.
Yeah.
And that's the way I think. But Dylan, do you have overhead in your business?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Jake is talking about the brokerage route. Brokerage for sure. We're both at a relatively low, cap and low expense brokerage. But as a realtor, you're an independent contractor too. So making sure that the things that you're paying for are really actually necessary for you to get business and optimizing it. So like for me, I look at it every single month where it's like, all right, I'm spending $500 a month on just subscriptions. Do I need this one, or can I knock out two of them with just one subscription that's cheaper? So just optimizing it and working smarter with that.
We're smarter.
Yeah. And I'll actually add that I think I invest more into my business than most real estate agents. Like I have back end support that I pay. Well, it's my wife. I don't pay. So that I'm totally lying. But I have all these subscriptions.
I pay for that.
But I have these internet like tech subscriptions to create CMAs before we make an offer, and these other really paid for pro model things that I think are only going to help. But I actually would argue that overhead, I mean, we're calling it a couple $100 a month overhead, is a more smarter way to operate because that is helping the client overall, which is ultimately going to help you.
We're finding a lot of AI tools that continue to emerge that are making us more efficient. And ultimately we know what's right and what's wrong. So we don't let AI run and just animate everything for us. In fact, we don't let AI animate anything at the moment. But we keep finding all these tools that are super efficient and effective. One for us, which is really interesting. If you guys have any interest, it's called Google Notebook LM.
Oh, I love that.
It's incredible.
It creates a podcast, right?
Completely. And so it creates podcasts. Have you done the co-podcast mode, like where you can actually speak to them?
There's two people podcasting together. That's what I've done.
So there is that. So basically for anybody listening at home, so this is called Google Notebook LM, and you upload all the information about a certain topic or a client or a person or whatever, and to say you want to upload it into it. And it's only thinking about that. What Jake's saying is there's a button that you can press on the side called podcast, I believe, or audio. And it creates this, honest to God, it sounds like two people, a man and a woman, just going back and forth with the ums and the coughs in the background and like the giggles and like everything feels correct. But there's this mode that you got to check out, which is called like co-pilot or jump in something mode, participate mode, where they go, oh my God, you've got a caller. Hold on, what's going on? And I can say, hey, I'm the guy who uploaded all the data. Can I ask you some questions, or do you want to ask me some questions? And they'll actually like speak to you.
Oh, wow. I got to check that out.
That is insane.
Yeah. And I'll mess with it a little bit. And I'll be like, look, here's the problem. I never learned how to read. And they'll go, yeah, we're just trying to stay on topic. That sounds like a personal problem. Like they actually start messing with it. It's ridiculous. It's great.
Way.
We are so far past the genie being out of the bottle at this point with all this stuff. But no, Google LM is great for learning things, having a bunch of prompts like flashcards. There's so many different ways that you can keep research into, that one little platform. But there's so many different platforms that we're finding that have their own niches and their own utilities. It's crazy. It makes your head spin at this point. But I'm finding a ton of them.
Well, it's crazy because it's already so intertwined with everyday life. Someone texted me the other day or emailed me with a whole 4-page PDF saying, "Hey, this is my thoughts on the seller's disclosure." I'm like, you literally just copied and pasted this from ChatGPT. But one thing that Jake said to on a previous episode was, he's like, you can literally take the ChatGPT conversation and already send it to them because that's something that they're going to do, but just disclose that. Say, hey, this is from ChatGPT. This is their thoughts on it.
Right.
I just beat you to that step. Now I kind of look better because, I'm proving that to you.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it makes it easier just to show up and show your clients that you're thinking through things. But on the flip side of it, I've seen people, let's just say that we've all come across people in the world who maybe are a little bit lazier than some of us. And all of a sudden they're writing these incredible sonnets on LinkedIn about how they're training.
Don't get me started on LinkedIn sonnets.
Software for shovels. I'm hitting the beach and I'm like, oh my God. And you got the M dashes.
They're always the same format. Yeah. M dashes in the same format. The first line is 3 words of a sentence and it's some powerful 3 words. It's this is it. This was it. This was the time I realized blah, blah, blah. God, I get so personally offended by it that I actually remove people. I can't work with people that do that. I mean, Dylan, we just received a podcast application. What was my response to it?
It's all AI. You were like, this seems like an AI thing that you sent out to 10,000 podcasts or something.
Yeah, I was like, we can't accept you. I'm sorry. You give us nothing personal at all here, and not that we expect you to know who we are, but at least fake it. I don't know. It was nothing.
Well, don't you think that's really interesting now? So this now creates a cultural baseline of, I think the game is always just how do you stand apart? Like I said, hit it where they ain't, right? So now it creates this cultural baseline where if everybody's jumping into AI, the people who are actually sending you personal emails because they're not saying things like, it's not X, it's Y and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And now does that become the great differentiator that it's just people who are thinking things through?
Mistakes are cool now. I won't purposely make a grammar. I mean, I won't purposely spell a word wrong, but I might just I used the word typically in a sentence twice yesterday. Chat would never do that. And I knew I did that on purpose. And I was like, okay, that's not perfect grammar. And that's what I'm doing here.
Right. Yeah. I try to put things in my own voice a little bit myself there too. Just so
Well, one thing that's bothering me right now is Gmail has the automated, autocorrect almost, but it's not even, it's the grammar correct. And almost every single sentence that I have, it's popping up. So first of all, I have horrible grammar apparently. And then number 2, it's I just have to deny it every time because I don't want to, I just want to sound like I sound every day.
It's interesting how that's going to, because Dylan, did that happen yesterday or 2 days ago? It's brand new for me.
Brand new. Yep.
Yeah.
Last couple of days.
I always think about, because I kind of have to, this is my game a little bit with advertising. You got to kind of see what is, I surf down here at the Jersey Shore and got Asbury Park on my flag back here. But you're always looking towards the horizon to see what ripples are going to hopefully become waves, and you want to be prepared for everything. And I look down the line of all of this stuff with AI and I'm going, man, with that grammar change thing, one, it's so easy to click, change it. And now this is a very well-written email, but what does that do for language in general? Are we now all going to be speaking differently, writing differently by virtue of all of this stuff just changing the way that we do speak? I don't know what it means, if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I tend to think that we are going to be spending less time thinking about what we're writing and less time reading what other people are writing. And I'm almost concerned that it's going to be something where you get down the line and it's my AI robot is swiping on your AI robot's Tinder, and now they're flirting back and forth. And I'm showing up to a date with someone I'm not prepared to speak to. You know what I mean? I think that is a world that we're going to be in pretty soon.
Yeah. Well, no, it's going to connect to your Neuralink in your head.
Exactly.
And you're going to know all the conversations.
Exactly. Which they store up in Starlink.
Does your company have an info at email?
We do. So we have info@playercoach.com. I just want to let everybody know it was a big year for us last year. We went from playercoach.co to playercoach.com.
Wow.
One of the best days of the year for me, I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, we're info@playercoach.com.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
asking. I'm not asking for a plug yet. That'll be at the end. But I'm asking on a business level, because my property management company, we have internal debates if we should have an info at email or if we should have our own personal faces attached. Jake at, where because of AI, because of this whole conversation we're having, we feel that some of us feel that info at is less personal, and we're
Yep.
trying to be the differentiator of being personal.
If I could, I would actually say I would keep it to info at, depending on how busy you get. So for me, I'm one of those people who, if I have 20 unread messages, I'm thinking about it all day. So if I were to then be encouraging more people to reach out to me, sometimes I'm not sure what's AI, what's a robot, what's a real reach out from somebody. It might be tough. I think where you want to differentiate yourself is in the response. So if you've got people emailing you at info at, there's not an expectation that like Jake is going to be responding to me now he's on the clock for 20. If they get a response that's human, using the word typically twice, the same sentence, within 24 hours, I think that's how you differentiate yourself. Going above and beyond to make it clear to everybody that you understand the world that you live in, but this is a very human business. And if you were to position yourself as human at the core, something to that effect, I think that would do enough. But I wouldn't go so far as to now have to prove it more than you already are.
Yeah. And then one more for you here.
Yeah.
If you call our number, an AI robot answers, and we're having a debate if the person, that AI robot, should say, "Hey, I'm an AI robot. Tell me your problem and I can connect you with the right person." Or, I mean, it sounds like a human. So, or should we just not address the fact that it's an AI robot? What do you think?
I am a disclosure person for sure. So I'm not offended when I pick up the phone and I know I'm speaking to an AI robot. They have tended to give you better customer service than like the robots that they used to train like 10 years ago. That said, I think it's better to always let people know. That way, if there is some sort of going off script or some sort of a if then type of series of events that happen where like this AI robot to be doing anything to this effect, they know it's not a person on your team and they're not going to say, hey, they've been training people improperly.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
That is, I hate it when people don't disclose that it's like an AI thing. Like
Really?
if it's like Google or something like that, maybe whatever, I'll get it. First of all, actually, not Google. It's impossible to find a phone number for Google, but any other big company like that, you can't, like, I don't like that. I don't like when they try and fool me.
Good feedback. That's good.
Yeah, and I do think that we're getting to the point, especially with AGI and everything like that. My feeling is before we know it, if not, we're already there. We just don't have the technology released to the public yet. It's going to be completely indistinguishable, I'm sure, to even other AI models at some point, whether you're speaking to an AI person or a real person. So I think it's better to get ahead of disclosure on that one. But whereas I think we would probably have people picking outside player coach if I said, hey, we're going full AI animation, AI everything. I do think it's worthwhile, or I do think it's understandable to have like AI phone operators and things like that. Yeah.
So to get off of the AI chat here, in your application, you said that your business eventually you'd want to get to be self-sustainable. What does that mean to you?
Yeah. So I would like this business to be able to self-sustain, first of all, with me not being the main operator. So you guys might be in the same world where a lot of everything that happens here has to happen with me pushing a bunch of buttons and me being very much visible and online and available to my clients. I want to get to the point where I can hire underneath myself and I can make the agency itself stronger by building more of a culture, bringing in more education and tools, and having the ability to do that and focus on that. Team who I've trained with systems and processes are giving my clients the best value and the best experience that they can get. So I'd like it to become self-sustainable in that sense. From a financial perspective, I am just going to say I'm happy to tell you that, like, from the time that I dropped that application into now, we are financially self-sustainable, and I'm hoping to
Hell
just keep
yeah.
that. Now,
Love to
yeah,
hear.
I'm knocking on a wood frame behind me here, and I'm hoping to keep that up. But that's where we're at with it. So yeah, I would just like this thing to
selfishly,
Yeah.
I wanted this to happen after the podcast so we could take credit for it, like maybe in 3 months. So you could have just waited a little bit.
We have an editing team. I can edit this whole thing out. We can start this thing over, and I can be like, look, the more smarter show made me more financially better.
We're going to clip that. We're going to
that's our
clip just
Instagram
that.
right there.
Oh yeah, we can do that. Nice.
When you say hire people underneath you, does that mean just like people that are going to be like, are you going to, because I think there's two different routes to go with where your business model is, where it's hiring more people that are going to be your, the subcontractors that go out there and they do their part and generate the business, and you kind of you generate the business and feed it to them. Are you saying fill more people in like Natalie underneath you and people that can manage those people, those subcontractors, or getting more subcontractors and getting more business and you're kind of being able to push the business to those people that are managing it?
It's the former. So my background in the advertising industry is actually as a producer behind the camera. And as we say, like the producers are the ones who make the trains run on time. And a lot of that is looking at the resources you have and finding the most efficient way of going about managing everybody's time and priorities. So I am looking to create more of a team of account managers underneath me who can then find smarter, more logistical, efficient ways to use our creative resources. I don't really think we need more of them right now. We just need to be able to plan things a little bit stronger. I'll tell you, like, it'll drive me nuts. When we have a creative team waiting for feedback for one day, that means that we've lost that day of work. And now the other projects behind that will slide a day. That drives me absolutely insane. The way that we can get around that is having more strong, more smarter account directors like Natalie, and basically pulling together a really great team of people who understand the player coach mindset. This is not just an ad agency where we're trying to be cool, we're trying to be good and strong at what we do. And through that, it's like a lot of the classics and the foundational tools of just knowing how to be a good client service person, knowing how to think things through, how to be strategic and think through problems. And I want to be able to create an army of that here at Player Coach. That's how I think we'd be able to scale. Yeah.
So we usually ask our guests 1 to 10, how sellable is your business?
At the moment,
Yes.
it's so funny you ask that. So we have brought on an attorney in the past week. I'm thinking of everything that I'm doing in this business at this point moving forward as being able to sell it at any point in time if we needed to, maybe starting like 6 months from now. I will tell you, I think we're at about a 2 in terms of sellability. We have quite a bit of our operations that we need to standardize. I've got a couple of agreements and stuff like that we're working through with some of these fractional business partners that we've got coming on. I think we're going to be past that and a rebrand within about 2 to 3 months. Plus, we'll have this studio up and running by then. So talk to me in 6 months, and I think we'll be closer to like a 7 or an 8. But I want to be very clear in that when I'm thinking about selling the business, it would be a means to an end, and that end would be happiness. And I think that the way that we're going here, we're loving what we're doing, and we don't see a reason to sell if we're continuing to make money living the life. And I think that's most important. So
sellability and wanting to sell, two way different things.
Completely.
Separating those two for sure.
Completely. Are you guys building your businesses to be able to sell yourselves, or like keeping it? Is that something that's top of mind for you guys?
I mean, right. So right now, as I'm full time and as a realtor, so it's a little harder to sell a real estate business as it's like more of like a book of business that you're selling, and it's almost better off to sell it, pragmatically with your clients and referrals and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, in other businesses, I know Jake is a part of, and Jake, is that part of your property management?
Well, sellability, yes. Selling though, absolutely not. And I think that's why you have to think about sellability. It's when you don't want to sell. I think that's the best time to think about it, because if you want to sell and you start thinking about it for the first time, you're not going to make a sound decision.
And maybe that also shows that your leverage isn't there. You're probably going to be at your highest leverage and value when you don't want to sell. There's probably a reason you wouldn't want to sell.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly
well, this was an awesome conversation. We're going to take you up on 2 things. 1, being a future guest after you rebrand, and 2, potentially coming to your studio and having a couple, or maybe our next episode with you will be there. That'd be cool.
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, we will absolutely make sure to take you up on the offer that we offer you, so whatever. But if there's any creative work that we can help you guys with, and anything we can partner on down the road, you guys have friends over here at the Jersey Shore, so just give us a shout.
Awesome.
All right,
Andrew, really appreciate
now's the
that.
time for the plug, Andrew. So
yes,
how can
exactly.
we find more?
As I was saying before, guys, now, so you can find us at Player, we're most active on our Instagram account at the moment. So it's PlayerCoach_advertising on Instagram. You can find our new website, which, hey, if you're listening to this down the line, instruction, that's playercoach.com. And then you can find me at PlayerCoach_Andrew. I just started that account too publicly. So anything I'm doing out there, I'll just be reposting over there if you want to follow.
Love it. That's awesome. Andrew, thank you so much for coming on. And guys, everyone who's listening to the More Smarter Show, like, subscribe, and follow.
Only if you like it.
Like it.